guys, welcome back to my channel. Now we're going to actually be doing a demo of the palette live. I know you've seen 2 videos already of the palette being kind of demoed in like fast forward motion. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So now we're actually going to do the demo of this live so you can see how it works and I can kind of talk you through it, my thoughts, my feelings on it as we're working through this palette. As you saw in the previous 2 videos, I did use Max Painterly, I think it was Painterly, yes. Painterly Paint Pot in one of the videos. And then I used the Urban Decay Eden Primer Potion in the other one. Today I'm actually going to be using, because I've tested those out over many days now, so this is not like, oh, I've tested it only 3 times. This is plenty of testing, so I've done enough testing on this palette to let you guys know my thorough thoughts and feelings on this palette. Today I'm going to be using the Benefit Stay Don't Stray. I feel like this one honestly works the best on this palette. I feel like it does the best job of like for holding power, like it's going to make the color stay the longest. And they're still pigmented, so it does a good job of helping the colors look a little more pigmented. So I feel like this is the best primer that I've tried with it. I did try the NYX Micro, or not Micro, but the Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. I tried this with the palette, and honestly, this didn't help with this lasting power whatsoever. It did make the color like pop a little bit better, so if you're looking for something to help make the color pop, I feel like this did a good job. But if you're looking for something for lasting power, this is not going to help very much at all. So again, I've already primed my eyelids using the Benefit Stay Don't Stray, so they are primed. So now we're going to go ahead and go in and we're going to lay down our base color. And I like to use, honestly, ever since I've started using this palette, I feel like I'm going to run out of this color right here. It's classic. I feel like I keep using that one to actually set my eyelids, and I can already see a pretty good dent into that. I really do like this one for setting everything. So once you've put your eyeshadow primer on, I feel like this does a good job for my particular skin tone. It works great. Of course, there's plenty of other shades in here to choose from if you are not my particular skin tone. So again, you're just going to set your eyelids. And I like to set it pretty good, so I like to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And that's what the powder does. Like when you use an eyeshadow powder over to actually set your eyelids, it actually makes it look a little more smoother. It helps to blend the shadows a little bit more smooth. So I feel like this is a good thing to use. Now we're going to go ahead and go in with a crease color. So I'm going to look at this palette and we're going to do something a little bit different. You've probably seen a couple different looks. Like I said, I've already used this palette. So I'm actually going to go in with, what is this? Fierce. I thought it said Feces. It says Fierce. So we're going to go in with Fierce and we're going to do a purple eye look today. So we're just going to go in and kind of start working in the crease using this purple color. As you can tell, these colors are very pigmented. I feel like they're very powdery though, so they do have a lot of kick up, so you're going to definitely want to tap off your brushes. I don't know if you could tell it or not in the other videos how powdery it was. When I tap off, you could see kind of like powder floating up. I feel like it's a very powdery palette, so if you are not one who typically taps off, you're going to have to tap off when you use this palette. If not, you're going to create a mess under your eyes. Or you can always do, whoops, I just went into the wrong color. Go back into Fierce. So Fierce, and then we're going to just keep on blending. Put this in our crease and we're going to blend it out. You can use whatever color you want to for your crease. I know basically they always tell you to use like a brown, like a taupey color, but I don't think that's always true. I use whatever color I want to. Since I'm going with a more purple eye today, we're just going to use this. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit more to just increase the color here. And you can see, like I said, the color is very pigmented. As you can see on my eye look here, it's looking very pigmented. And you can create some really pretty looks using this palette, to be honest with you. But I feel like there are a couple flaws about it, which we will talk about. So again, tap off and then just continue to blend. I wanted a purple crease. And then once you've got it blended as much as you can with this brush, you can go in with a clean brush and blend it out a little bit further. Just be careful not to over blend on the shadow, because it is so powdery, it could blend a little bit away. So then you'd have to go in and kind of restart the whole process all over again. So I'm just going to go in with a clean brush and just kind of clean it up a little bit. Blend it just so that it's kind of giving the effect that it's almost ombre. So there we go. That's good enough for blending for the eyes, for the purple, the first purple we're going to use. So I don't know what you guys think of that color right there, but I honestly think it turned out really good. So I'm impressed. Now we're going to go over here to Innocent. This is the darker purple down here. We're going to use Innocent. We're going to see how good that one's going to go onto my eye. And we're going to go in with a smaller blending brush. So here is Innocent. Again, tap off your brush, and we're just going to go in here more or less in the V of your eye. So just keep going in the V and bring it up and bring it down. That's how I typically do it. And then if you want to darken it, you can, because this doesn't look like it's super dark. So if you want to make this a more darker look, more like a night look, you definitely can. This is more of a daytime look, daytime appropriate, where it's like a purple smoky eye almost. So again, I'm just working into the V. Now I'm going to go and tap just a little bit into this purple here, which is Vamp. So we're going to tap a little bit into that and tap off. And now we're just going to tap right into the V. Just to give it a little bit of color right there, a little bit more. And then do the same thing. Go back into Vamp, tap off. And again, do the same thing. You're just going to blend it, tap and blend just a little bit. Basically, you're just trying to put a little purple right there in the corner. So there is how it looks so far. So now the only thing we're going to do is we're going to go in. I'm going to go back in. I've learned with these colors here, which they're calling duochromes. They're not duochromes, to be honest with you. The only one that is a duochrome is the top one right here. Other than that, they're not duochromes. But I've learned if you're using those, the best thing to do is to actually go in first with like one of the white colors right here. So we're going to use this Vintage, and we're going to kind of lay that right where we're going to lay the other colors, just because it helps it to pop a little bit more. And you could honestly go back in with a little bit more of your eye primer to make it pop a little bit better. So I'm just using a brush and just kind of putting the white on right there. This is an angled brush. Okay, so now we have that on. Now we're going to go in with a flat brush. So I'm trying to find my flat brush, and here it is. So now I want to use this purple in the center, like right here. So we're kind of ombre again. We're going to do a little bit of purple here. And you can use one side of your brush for one color. So we're going to go back in, which is, this color is Minx. Go back in a little bit more. And I will tell you, these colors do work a lot better if you get them wet. So if you want to get them wet, they are going to work a lot better. But since I'm going for more of a daytime look, I'm not really going to make them more dramatic. I'm just going to leave them like they are. So I'm going to get a clean brush. You can flip your brush and use it the other way, but I'm just going to get a clean one. So I've got a clean brush here now, and I'm going to go into Glam. And so now we've got Glam onto the brush, and I'm just going to tap that right here into more of the center part, or the inner part, not center part. And then you're going to sweep it outwards, and you're just kind of blending the colors is what you're doing when you do that. Now we're going to get a little bit more, and we're going to do the same thing. Sweep it in. And there you go. If you want to, I don't know, did we put enough purple on this side? I don't think we even put any, to be honest with you. Let's go back in with this color here, and we're going to put some purple. I don't think we did this eye. I got into a hurry. So if you didn't, you can go back in and put it there. Or if you want to add more, you absolutely can do that too. So again, I'm using Minx. And just kind of blending it back into the purple, and then kind of fading it from the white into the purple. So if you want to increase the oomph to it, you can definitely add a little bit more. And like I said, also, you can always get it wet. So what I'm going to do is actually spray it right now with a, well, I thought I had my mist here. You can always use anything. You can use eye drops. You can use whatever you want to. I just don't happen to have mine here right now, so we're just going to leave this like it is, because the only thing I have is micellar cleansing waters, and that's not going to help us. That's just going to make it come off. So anyway, you can definitely get these wet and make them a little more intense if you'd like to intensify them. But like I said, this is a daytime look that I'm going for, so I'm not going to make them super intense. I'm going to leave this like it is. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and going to put a brow bone highlight on. So, and I don't like it super shiny up in here. So what I like to do is first go in with the classic, and just kind of blend right here. We're just going to blend these purple up to the white that's going to go in there. And then I'm going to go in with Vintage. And that's going to go more towards the actual brow bone. And do the same thing. It's a very light difference. You can't see it. It's not dramatic whatsoever. But like I said, this is a daytime look I'm trying to create. And now we're going to go in with Vintage. If you can see it, Vintage. And then we're going to do the brow bone. And if you wanted to make it pop, you absolutely could. Now's the time when you can go over here to Glam. And you can grab a little bit of Glam. And you can put that directly onto the brow bone. Right under the brow bone, not directly onto it. Right there. And that will just make it pop even more. And then the other thing you can do with this Glam is you can take and add that to your brush. And you can just put a little bit here. And a little bit here. You probably should use a more concentrated brush. So let's get a more concentrated brush. Now I have a little pencil brush. And I'm just going to go in and grab a little bit more. And add that into my inner corner highlight. I don't know if you can see it. It does a good job. It almost just makes it look like it's wet. And again, if you got these wet, they would definitely be more intensified. So you can always do that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to pause you guys. I'm going to go finish putting the rest of my makeup on. And then I'll come back on here and show you the completed look with my mascara and everything. And then we're going to discuss the palette. So we're going to discuss how I feel about this palette and whether or not I feel like this palette is worth getting. So hang tight, guys. So I'm back. So I wanted to show you my makeup once it was completed. I have put on the rest of my makeup. My eyes are complete. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like this eye look actually turned out really pretty. I do like the way it looks. I will go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit of a close-up of my eye look. And so that way there you can see how it actually turned out. I think it turned out really good. I think the eyes, I mean, honestly, I have nothing to complain about. I didn't have a whole lot of fallout. You guys saw that all I did was tap off my brush. And I think if you tap off your brush, then you're good to go. If you're one who doesn't typically tap off your brush, then that's something that I think is very important that you're going to have to do with this palette. So I want to go ahead and let you know what's on the rest of my face so that you can kind of tell you how I finished getting ready. I am wearing the Bella Pierre Kiss Proof Lip Cream. This came in my BoxyCharm, and this is the shade Antique Pink. So this is very sticky though. So if you guys have this in your BoxyCharm, let me know if yours is super sticky also. The next thing I'm wearing on my face is the Urban Decay Rapture Blush, and it looks like this. That is what's on my cheeks for my blush today. I really love this blush. It's my purple tone blush I love. Then I have the Lorac Starlight Highlight. I have this for my highlight one for today. I didn't do anything dramatic for a highlight. I like more of a more natural highlight, so that's what I did. I am wearing the Stila Huge Mascara. That is my favorite mascara right now. I really do love this mascara. And then as for foundation, I am wearing the Too Faced Born This Way. And as for concealer, I am wearing the Urban Decay Naked Skin. And as for the liners, so my liner is the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencil and Psychedelic Sister. So that is what's on my eyes. And then as for the top of my eyes, that's like the inner rims of my eyes. And then this is for the top, and I have the Kat Von D in Trooper. So this is everything that's on my face. So if you were trying to recreate this look, if you liked it, if you happen to like it, those are the things that I ended up wearing. So you can pick out shades that are similar to that in your collection that you have. So you can do a purple liner, you can do a black on top of your eye, and then of course a purple blush. I really love this purple blush. So now let's actually get into this palette and talk about it. So the palette itself I think is really nice. I feel like the way that this palette's made is very, very sturdy. I like the design of the palette. I feel like it's a nice hefty palette. It's very luxurious feeling. However, the outside packaging, the black part, does get very dirty. So if you're someone who that bothers you, I think this may bother you that it gets this dirty, because it will get very dirty. I don't know if you can tell or not, but mine's quite filthy. And on the back, it does have this reflective gold, which gets fingerprinted, but that can be wiped off very easily. The black cannot be wiped off that easily. It's a little bit harder to clean up. And then when you open, you do get a giant mirror. So you've got this big mirror that's the same size as your palette. So you've got this giant mirror. So this would be really great to travel with. The mirror is self-standing, so it can stand up on itself. So again, it would be great for traveling. So if you're trying to put your makeup on in like a hotel room or wherever, then you have room to, or you have a mirror to do that with. Now when you open it up on the inside, here is what it looks like. You're going to see a little bit of my background into this. So you'll see that on this side over here is all your shimmers. They are calling them duochromes, and I will tell you they are not all duochromes. The only one that is a duochrome is the top one right here. That is a duochrome shade. The rest are just more or less like shimmers. And I do think that these set better if you use either your fingers or you use something like some sort of fixing spray. So if you have like a setting spray, then it works better like that. So if you wanted to see how you use it with your fingers, you're just going to basically tap your finger into it, and then you can just tap it onto your lid. And that will like intensify the color a little bit more. So if you wanted that purple a little more intensified, you can absolutely do that very easily. I really do like the shimmers in this palette. However, I do feel like they transfer. So if you're someone who has a problem with shadows transferring very easily, these shimmers will transfer. I've had them transfer all the way up to my crease and everything. So, but for me, it's not that big of a deal because I don't find that they transfer until about 6 or 7 hours into wearing it. So that's not bad, to be honest with you. Now, as far as all the mattes go, I feel like the mattes are really, really nice. They are very hard pressed into the pan though, so you're going to have to do a little bit of digging, but they're hard pressed and yet they're powdery, which is an odd combination, which is something you don't typically find. Typically, if you're going to see something that is very powdery, you're going to see something like a Lorac shadow. When you put your brush into that, you're going to notice the powder kick up. This one's very powdery and yet it's hard pressed, which I don't understand how they did it, but they did it. So the shadows in here are good quality. I feel like they do last on your eyes, but I feel like you have to use a specific eye primer with it. Like I said in the beginning, I've tried out a couple different eye primers, and I feel like the best one for me is the Benefit Stay Don't Stray. I feel like that works the best for me. And I do have dry skin. I have dry eyelids. I have dry everything, honestly. So if you have dry skin and your skin type is similar to mine, I feel like Benefit Stay Don't Stray might work for you as well. So, or you can test out other ones like I did. I did a bunch of testing to see which one would work the best, and I honestly felt like Benefit Stay Don't Stray was my pick. So now, as far as dupes of this palette, actually let's go ahead and do swatches. So we'll go ahead and swatch the first row of the mattes, and then we'll go down and do the shimmers last. So the first row we have Classic, Innocent, Whimsy, and Smoked. So Classic, Innocent, Whimsy, and Smoked. And Smoked is very, very, like, it's got a really hard texture to it. So if you're someone, again, who does not like hard textures, or you are afraid to use palettes that are textured really, really well, then you may not like that, but it does show up very pigmented. So it may be hard pressed into the pan, but it is completely pigmented. I don't think you're gonna find any problems with the pigmentation. Like I said, the only thing that I feel like the issue with this palette is honestly the lasting, not the lasting power, but the powder, the way it kind of kicks up a lot of powder. So if that really bothers you a lot, that is going to kick up a lot of powder, make sure you tap off your brush, do your makeup on your face last, do your eye makeup first. I mean, there's ways around powdery products, and I think that you guys probably know that also. So there are ways around this, but I have had no issues with it, to be honest with you. I feel like this palette's getting a lot of hate, and I don't know if it's because of the trips that went along with when this palette initially arrived. I feel like that might be why this palette might be getting some hate. And honestly, when I first got it, I kind of hated it. But then I had to step back and say, am I not liking this palette because everyone else doesn't like this palette? Or do I not like this palette because I really don't like this palette? So then once I started using it more, and then the more I used it, the more I really have been enjoying it. I feel like it is an excellent palette. I don't think that it's bad like some people are saying. I don't think it's the best quality of palette that I've ever had. So if I were to recommend a palette over this, then I do have one that I would recommend from Tarte. I'll show you guys. So now we'll go ahead and move on to the next row. We have Vintage, Fierce, No Filter, and Vamp. And it seems like the darkest shades in this palette are the ones that feel a little bit gritty. They have a little bit of texture to them. So I feel like I'm not sure why they feel that way. I don't know if it's because of some sort of dye they have to put into it, but they are a little bit texturized. So again, that is Vintage. Let me point to them for you. So we have Vintage, and then we have Fierce, and then we have No Filter, and then we have Vamp. So I think there are some gorgeous shades that you can get in this palette, and again, I think they're very pigmented. They are powdery. I'm going to keep repeating that. That's something that's going to be repeated throughout this video, is how powdery they are, and yet hard pressed. I don't know how they did it. Like I said, I have no idea. I'm not going to do brush swatches because I did do 3 eye looks with this, so then you can obviously see that they do go on very pigmented. I don't think brush swatches are necessary for this video since I did do 3 eye looks. Now we're down to the next row, which is the third row. We have is it Chic or Chic, Profesh, Mod, and Drama. So Chic, Mod, and Drama. Again, like I said, this last whole row right here, the last darkest row, I feel like is the one that's very textured. It has a little bit of a gritty texture to it. So here we have Chic, Profesh, Mod, and Drama. But look at the pigmentation. I mean, honestly, I don't see where this palette is bad. I feel like a lot of people are hating it because they have such high expectations because they've tried some other palettes that they really loved more. Or they're just hating it because of what happened when this palette first came out. And if you're not familiar with this palette when it first came out, just look for some Bora Bora videos and you'll figure that part out. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I don't really care about that. I mean, I think it's unprofessional a little bit that they send people out like that. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So anyway, now we're down to the final row, and we have Indie, Bold, Edgy, and Punk. So again, we have 4 shades here, and this is more of a neutral type of row. Now the black is not quite as textured as the other shades, so it doesn't have quite as much of that gritty feeling. So we have Indie, Bold, Edgy, and Punk. So there are the shades. Again, that is supposed to be like a smoky eye look. You can use all 4 of these colors here to create a look. And which that's the other thing that I feel like they did a really good job on this palette, is if you're someone who uses a palette and you're not familiar how to put all the colors together, which typically I know I have a hard time with that sometimes. So what they did was they went ahead and put these, whoa, be careful, don't pull it back so far. When they made this, they went ahead and did the rows so that you can use those looks together. So you could technically use this whole row together, you could use this whole row together, you could use this whole row together, you could use this whole row together. So on and so forth. You can use the rows together And I think I might have just broke my palette by squeezing it backwards like that. Don't push it back too far. It doesn't lay flat. So now we're on to the actual shimmer shades. So now we have Ethereal, Glam, Minx, and Trendy. So these are your shimmer shades and they are super gorgeous. So here is Ethereal. And as you can see, that is not a duochrome. They're claiming this is a duochrome. I do not see where it's a duochrome. And then we have Glam. Again, not a duochrome, just shimmer shades. Very shiny, shimmery. And then we have Minx. Again, not a duochrome. And then the last one is Trendy. I had to look to see what the name was. Trendy. Now this is your duochrome. As you can see, this one here, it looks brown and it looks green. So it's got like a brown-green color going on to it. But the rest do not have a duochrome effect to it. But I feel like this one definitely is a duochrome. The other three are not duochromes. They've named them duochrome and I don't know why. But these shades are all very, very pigmented. And I do think, like I said, I think they wear the best if you put them on either wet or if you put them on with your finger. If they put them on with your finger, I think that's the best way to use them, to be honest with you. But some people don't really like putting their fingers in their palette. So if you're someone who doesn't like to put your fingers in your palette, just get your brush wet and it'll work really well that way also. Now as far as dupes, I feel like there are a couple of dupes in this palette that I have found. If you happen to have the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette, you will notice in the corner here, they have the shade. I don't think the shade names are actually listed on here, are they? No. But down at the bottom here, there's a shade. Let's hold it the right way first. So if you're looking at this palette the right way, this shade right here, if you swatch that, here it is swatched. Gorgeous, right? Now let's go back to the Tarte palette and we're going to swatch Trendy. I'll use a clean finger. Hang on. Let me clean my finger to make sure we don't have any kind of interruptions and don't use the same finger so you guys don't think I'm like double swiping. And I'll show you my hands are clean. So now we've got Trendy. These are very, very soft too. When you touch these are very, very soft and buttery. So now if you can see, that is very, very similar. I may have gotten a little much there, so let's blend it out just a tad. But as you can see, they're very, very similar. So I think if you have the Wet n Wild and you're just getting this palette just for that green that's like the duochrome, you can get it from the Wet n Wild palette. I really feel like that is a complete dupe. I don't see where that's any different whatsoever. That is like that. I think there's a MAC shade too like that. It's called the MAC Brown Blue or something like that. Blue Brown. I'm not even sure what it's called. I don't happen to have that shade. But I feel like that is a shade that can be duped very easily if you have that MAC shade or if you happen to have the Comfort Zone palette. So if you're looking for a shade, this palette, the only reason you were getting it was because of that green color, then you can definitely dupe it elsewhere. Now as far as the colors in the rest of the palette, I feel like if you happen to have any of the Tartelette palettes, you're going to notice some similarities. And that is the reason why I feel like that you're going to notice similarities is because Tarte, I think their color they like to use a lot of is purple. They like to use a lot of purple. So if you have the Tarte, the original Tarte palette, so here is what the original Tarte palette looks like. And I know a lot of people didn't like this palette when it came out, but honestly, I really like this one also. And again, you'll notice the packaging is very similar in that gold, very reflective. But if you notice, they do have some shades in here that are very similar. So if you have this one already, and then you have the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone, I don't feel like you need this. If you happen to have the Tarte, it's the Tartelette in Bloom. Yes, if you happen to have the Tartelette in Bloom, you're going to notice that the colors are very similar in this also. So again, if you happen to have this palette, and then you don't want to get this one, get this and the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone. And I feel like you can create the similar looks. Now, the only thing I feel like I cannot dupe out of this palette is, or not really dupe, just like compare, is these pinks. These pinks right here, these like a purplish pink. I have nothing in my Tarte palettes that look similar to those, so I cannot dupe those shades. But if you're looking more for the purple, the neutrals, and then this actual green right here, I feel like you can definitely dupe those by getting any of the other Tartelette palettes. And then another thing that I feel like is very similar, I don't know if the quality, I know the quality is not the same, but something else, if you're just looking for a purple palette and you want to go drugstore only, I feel like this palette would be a really good one to get in combination with the Wet n Wild. And this is the L'Oreal La Palette 2. So if you see, there are quite a few similar shades of purples and the tans. So again, I think you can definitely get shades that are similar if you don't want to pick this up. So I really do like this palette. I feel like it is a good palette. I do recommend this palette, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people are not recommending this palette, but I'm going to be the odd man standing. because I really do think this is a good palette. I honestly, in the beginning, I had to, like I said, go back and talk to myself and say, hey, why do you not like this palette? Is it because everyone else doesn't like this palette? Are you kind of just following along with what everybody else is thinking? And that's how I've had to do with a lot of the makeup products that I review for you guys, because sometimes I get caught up in what everybody else is saying about a certain product, and I'm like, yeah, that's good, or yeah, that's bad. No, you have to actually sit here and use these products and try them out for many, many days to see whether or not they are good. You cannot get a palette, open it up, and swatch it one time and then say, yeah, this is shit. Because you can't do that. And I don't ever cuss, so sorry about that. But you can't do that. I don't think that that's a good idea. Don't ever open a palette, just swatch it one time and think that it's bad. You have to continuously try out the different colors in the palette. You have to try them on your eyes. You have to try them with different primers. That's an absolute must if you're testing a palette. So, but in my opinion, I feel like this is a good palette. I feel like there are some shadows in here. Like I said, I think all the dark shades are a little bit gritty. They do have a little bit of a gritty texture, but that does nothing to the pigmentation. The pigmentation is amazing. I feel like these are not duochromes like they claim to be. There's only one duochrome in it. But I feel like the rest of the palette is really, really good. I'm happy to have it. I know it's a little powdery. So there's a lot of things right there. So if those are things that you don't like, if you don't like a gritty texture palette, if you don't like a palette that's a little bit powdery and it's going to have kick up, if you don't like that this is not actually duochrome. So those are things that you have to ask yourself when you're looking at purchasing this palette. Is it worth it to you to get it? Because those things are not actually true. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and that you at least maybe now have decided whether or not you're going to get it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions on this palette, if you have it already or if you've tested it or what you think about it, honestly. I'd love to hear what you think about this palette. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.